Greetings. I'm hoping to get back into doing some regular tarot videos for those of you who are interested. Um, we are coming up into tomorrow is Mabon, and maybe by the time you see this, I'm not sure it will already be. But I like to do some kind of a special reading each change of season, each turn of the wheel. We're coming into now beginning the season of Mabon with the celebration actually being Wednesday of this week, which marks the time when the light and dark of day, the sun and moon, the sun and moon are equal for us. And here in the northern hemisphere, that means we're going to be having increasing darkness each day until we get to Yule at winter solstice. This is the time of the year that I always do shadow work. I start to do shadow work, and but also I also want to mention that I have a tendency to change decks. Yes, this is coming from someone who, if you've seen any of my earlier videos, this is coming from somebody who used to only have one deck and never only swore by one deck, and here it is in front of me. The hoi polloi. The hoi polloi that I have used since I began my adventure with tarot in 1970. 171, I believe. And but since I do have some other decks now, I have found that the energies from different decks give me a little more insight as to my reading at different times of the year. Sometimes they're a little more helpful. For instance, especially some decks are just really predisposed for shadow work. Some of them are even called that. They're perfect for that. That doesn't mean you can't use a regular tarot deck for shadow work. It doesn't mean you cannot use some of these special decks that I use for shadow work for regular readings. You can do that. You can do whatever you want. That's just my practice. That's just something that I've come to really enjoy doing in my own practice. And I thought you might enjoy the journeys as I take you along through the different Sabbats, and as I change decks, give you a little bit of insight as to how that works. Now, if you've taken classes from me, you know this already, because we do go into tarot very thoroughly using a Rider-Waite, standard Rider-Waite deck. But towards the end of the series, we do get into adapting that to other readings, with other decks, how it changes, what is the same, what is the difference in reading with other decks, because most people don't just use a Rider-Waite based deck. People really like the theme decks or whatever. They like different things in decks. So we really get into that and we practice those in the classes. But those of you who are not, don't have the advantage to having a class with us, that I'm going to give, I thought it would be fair for me to show you throughout the year a little bit of that, give you a little bit of an example of what I mean by that when I say that. Now, I do have some other tarot episodes here on my channel. You can use the search bar to search for tarot. And you can see me go through the Wildwood a little bit, work with the Wildwood and some other decks, Wildwood Tarot and some other decks, which I'm not abandoning those. I go back, and other times of the year will come back. I'm going to try to do more recording of those for you. Now that I think I have, before I didn't think I had a lot of people that were interested in tarot, to be honest. But I think more and more of you are wanting to know a little bit more tarot, so I'm happy to oblige you, because it's one of my favorite subjects. Okay, so I'm going to try to do that regularly. So anyway, today for the beginning of Mabon, for the beginning of the celebration of the equinox, and in the northern hemisphere, the returning of the darkness, I'm going to revisit the Murder of Crows Tarot. You saw me, I did a video, I think at the beginning of the year. I think I got this deck. I don't know if I got this deck at Yule last year when I got it, but I think about the beginning of the year, earlier this year, I did a spread, an interview with the Murder of Crows Tarot, where I did a special spread asking the deck to show me how it might help me with readings, how it might. I will link to that. I'll give you a link either on an iCard if I figure out how to do an iCard or in the description box below. Always look in the description box below because I'm going to try to link to some other relative videos that I've done that are on the same subject or whatever to enable you to find, so you don't have to go through the search if you're looking for some little more detail or a little more on the same subject. I'm going to try to do that from now on. So if you get in the habit of just, taking the down, if you're on the phone, you have to go over and see the little arrow at the corner below the video. It should be over here, I think, down here. There's a little arrow that points down. Click on that and it will open up a description box below. And any links will be in that description box. Okay. So anyway, today I am doing a special, I thought I'm doing a special reading for Mabon. And I was looking around, and now I am also a proponent of writing your own spreads. Now there are some wonderful spreads you can find on the internet and from other channels here on YouTube. People offer spreads all the time, and I love them, but I usually take the bits that I like and throw the bits that I don't like apart, away. It doesn't mean I don't think they're good, but I want every question, every position in my spread to be meaningful for me. And what is meaningful for you and your questions is not always the same what is meaningful for me and my question. So I found a spread. I didn't even find actually a spread. I think it was an interactive website. I'm not even sure what it was. But there was a place that was looking for harvest videos at harvest time at Mabon or at the equinox, where they showed 3 different screens with 2 cards. 2 cards, 2 cards, 2 cards. And they titled them, whatever they titled them. And then they said what each card would tell you. Well, when I was reading those, I kind of liked the idea, I liked the concept, but I didn't like what they were having the card tell me because it didn't go in line with what I think of when I think of this time of the year, what the equinox or what Mabon means to me in my practice. So I kind of borrowed the idea and I kind of renamed some of the cards, and I wrote my own messages for each one. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Just take it as inspiration to do your own. You can do this spread. You can try it. But just take it as an inspiration to give yourself permission to go ahead and make your own spread. Okay? And again, in my classes, I sort of teach you how to do that. So if you really want to know about it, you might consider signing up for my class the next time I'm offering it. Okay, but anyway, now I have notes written in my book here because I have already put the spread out. I did that because I wanted to take a picture. I wanted to be able to get the cards. There's 6 cards, and I wanted to be able to get it. As you can see, I don't know if you can see this page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. It doesn't matter if you can't see it, but I think I'll put the picture. I wanted a picture of it so that I could see all 6 together, and I'll share that either at the beginning as a thumbnail, maybe, or maybe I'll just insert the picture in here if I can. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's not that important. But I wanted to have a picture of the spread. And that's the way I did it. I did it by 6. But really, it's best if it's 2 instead of just looking at the 2 cards together. 2 cards together, 2 cards together. That's really all you need because you get the message. Then you can look at the 6. Because we were kind of playing the cards against each other a little bit, in pairs. Then, of course, you can look at the whole spread, all 6 cards if you want to. But for the purpose of this reading it 2 cards, 2 cards, 2 cards, it's just fine. And that's what I'm going to show you here using my overhead camera. Okay. Now keep it in mind before I put out the spread, keep it in mind about this time of the year. What we're thinking about is, remember, it's a harvest. It's the second of 3 harvests in pagan tradition. The first being at Lammas, and the third will come at Samhain. And this is the time, the first crops have already been harvested, but this is a good time for collecting as we collect things, particularly if we think about collecting maybe the barley. That's a really good example. Um, Traditionally, or other grains, and collecting that for this and saving the seeds. And I have written some blog posts in the past, and I think I talked about it maybe even yesterday, not yesterday, the other day, when I put out a video on about Mabon. But I often refer to it as my second chance, as a second chance harvest, because what it is it doesn't matter. When you have your crop and you've grown your crop, whatever it is in your garden, like tomatoes or cucumbers or beans or whatever, all kinds of things sometimes can happen, whether they're from your fault or the fault of insects or the fault of the weather or the fault of, disease, whatever happens. Because sometimes your crop is not as good as it can be. It sometimes can be a disappointment. But as long as you have a strong seed from that garden to plant for future crops, you have another chance. You have another chance to succeed. Okay, that's why you get a second chance. Things don't completely disappear. That's in the method if spiritually pagans believe, Wiccans believe, if they believe in the god and the goddess entities, deities. The god is dying. It dies at this time of the year, and he doesn't die and go away forever. He descends into the other world, but he's held within the goddess in the form of a seed to be born again at Yule. To be born again at Yule. Okay, so that idea of the seed being held in the earth, these birds will scatter the seeds or whatever, or you will plant the seeds. They will stay and sleep in the earth until it's time for them to come again. Now that's an analogy, again, for our lives. It's not just about gardening. It's not just about the goddess and the god. It's an analogy for our own lives. We plant the seeds of our intentions. When we do spell work, we plant the seeds, intentions for our lives, okay? And it doesn't always come out the way we want it to come out that first time. But that seed is still there, the intention is still there, and you can carry that desire with you as long as you carry it with you. There's a chance that it will succeed in the future. Doesn't mean it might succeed now, but it doesn't mean it won't succeed in the future. Okay, so there's always another chance after you keep that seed alive. So this spread addresses that idea. Okay, so I'm going to change my camera and I'm going to show you the two cards first, two, and I'm going to compare you just to give you a brief idea. I have also pulled out from my hoi polloi the images so that if you're only familiar with the Rider-Waite images, then we can see the little bit of a difference in how the authors of the hoi polloi deck or Rider-Waite deck, how they view how maybe we view those cards, and maybe what the authors of this deck, the Murder of Crows Tarot, take. What is that little twist on that meaning? How do they take it? Okay, so I'm going to change my camera so that you can now be looking down at my cards. Okay, I have the first two cards out here, and this is actually the Two of Cups, which is, here we are. This is the Rider-Waite image, Two Cups from the hoi polloi, and the Ten of Pentacles, and this is the Ten of Pentacles, just to remind you what cards we're talking about. And these cards represent harvest and seed. Harvest and seed. That's exactly what we're talking about, what I just was talking about. This is what we have harvest. This card represents what I've harvested from the seeds of my intentions. What I've harvested so far. Remember, this is what is happening right now. This is a present card. The card about the present. And generally in the Rider-Waite definition, we talk about some kind of a balance. There's some kind of a harmony between these two people. Okay, maybe it's a partnership, whatever. But often some people say that this also could be it could represent opposites. It's usually representing opposites. So it's almost like you had two choices and a choice was made among the two, okay, coming together. um, from two different directions. Okay, so so in this version, we see two figures standing, holding the cups. It's really very similar. Nothing too different about the image. Okay, we have the two crows overhead. They are wearing masks, but they're both wearing masks. They do kind of represent opposite. Here was the female and the male. And here it might be the female and the male as well, but it's also one is wearing a dark mask and one is wearing a light mask. But basically, it's very similar in style. But the authors here are talking about where here it might be an agreement. We see that an agreement between the two people. In this one, it's almost like seeing yourself as the other, as your partner sees you. Seeing yourself as you, having yourself reflected back in somebody's eyes. But also that idea of trust, of in order to, if you're going to trust your partner, you have to let them into that private place that you might not share with anybody else. That opening up, okay? Where so sometimes this is maybe just a partnership. This is much more intimate. It's much more of an intimate. So we're talking about whatever connection I've harvested, if this is my reading, which I say it is, whatever connection I am harvesting at this time is very personal. It's something very personal, something where I have opened up and shared something intimately with another person. And as I do this, the loneliness washing away from my life. And I think this is kind of really on point with me, because I will get a little personal if I may. You know, I'm married. I'm a married person. And my husband and I, we've been together for a really long time. And of course, I've also been very isolated here during the last 18 months, not really seeing people or going anywhere. And we get involved in routines. And there's been a little bit of loneliness on my part, because I've gotten into some of my routines and he's gotten into some of his routines. And it's really interesting because we just have had a discussion recently where we have tried to reconnect that intimacy, that conversation, that just, you know, seeing each other again and reflecting each other's feelings and things, looking into each other's lives, and and letting the other person into our own thoughts and fears with trust. So this is very much so what I've been in. I thought this was really on point with me. And then this one representing seed having to do with what do I carry to manifest in the time to come. This is something that I still carry with me. Well, this was totally interesting because here we have the Ten of Pentacles. And when we look at the Ten of Pentacles, traditionally, we see like this feeling of abundance and comfort and everything. Everything's good. Here's the whole family together, even the dogs in this picture, even the dogs are there. We're all just having some kind of a coming together and celebrating. And it's just like a euphoric time. It's a time of accomplishment. It's a time of satisfaction, okay? So it's all based on that. But in the Murder of Crows Tarot, we see two crows, and here come more flying in the way, and they're picking whatever they're picking here from the ground. And it talks about your tribe, or if you were crows, your murder or flock or whatever you want to call it, but your tribe giving you strength, because you're getting, it's coming together as a group. It is sharing resources together, whatever you have, sharing with those around you that are part of your tribe or part of your murder. There's always enough when everybody shares. And that feeling of coming together, that feeling of also drawing onto the past, things that you can use for yourself and others, which is lessons learned, right? Sharing your lessons with others, sharing life lessons, sharing what you have, your knowledge, sharing your skills. It's not just about celebrating, as it might be in this case, but here it's about taking what you have, what you've accomplished, and sharing it with those around you. which I totally, totally get. I totally get it. And I'm very much in that energy right now. I thought this was cute. My husband thought this was a very interesting card because I'm very much in that mode right now where I'm coming back and doing some more classes, but also I'm doing a lot of celebrating with people of like minds, people who really we're coming from the same space with the same kind of things that we like to do or whatever. So this is really, I thought this was really cool. Now, another reason I want to say about this reading is what I like to do is I like to compare, and we've already compared with the Rider-Waite deck, but look what we see here. There's so many similarities. These cards really go together so well because here we have, even though we have the 2 and the 10, this is the 2 looking together, face to face, reflecting on each other, seeing each other together. These are 2 working together while the rest are here. The flock is coming. The murder is around them. We see that very intent here. We're very intent on each other, looking at each other's eyes, very intent on what we're seeing in the other person. Here we're very intent on doing and acquiring and helping whatever the rest of the people around us. So there's nothing here about pulling into ourselves and just being ourselves and letting everybody else away. It is all about connecting on this kind of a level, spiritually connecting intimately with another person, sharing our feelings, sharing our thoughts, trusting in other people to be there, another person to be there for us. And here it is about loving those around us, caring those around us, helping those around us, also accepting help from those around us. So it's all nothing here about isolation or loneliness, which I thought was really very interesting. Okay, now the next 2 cards I have are, here we have the Ace of Cups. Wait, this is the wrong one. Ace of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Okay. Now let me see what that says. Ace of Cups. Let's review Ace of Cups, Queen of Wands. Ace of Cups, Queen of Wands. Okay, very straightforward, typical cards. And these cards are going to represent broom and ball. Broom as in broom, sweeping. Ball as in seeing into what's coming ahead. In a crystal ball, you might want to think, or a spirit ball, or a sphere. Okay, a crystal sphere. Which, I don't really ascribe to seeing things definitely in the future, but this is just things that we want to look for in the road. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about the Ace of Cups. Traditionally, the Ace of Cups is a card that there's some kind of new relationship or new something or new passion, some new feeling coming up, and but also it's very often thought of, which I thought was interesting. It's all about yourself, because some people even read an Ace of Cups as having that relationship with yourself. Learning to love yourself. It's again maybe. Or, getting to know yourself, or self, analyzing what your feelings are, trying to get to know your thoughts, your feelings, those kind of things. And this card is about telling me to move away from that, because this is the broom. This is the past. This is something I should remove or sweep away from my past. So this is all about being in my thoughts, being lost in a dream, being lost in a thought, being lost in, or trying to, coming up with something new all the time. In this deck, we have the Crow, again, sitting on the edge of the cup. He's sitting there, and it talks about, this is all about birth and renewal and stuff and a powerful emotion, but the meaning in this deck, the author says, you are born of a cosmic soup of possibilities. Leave behind the vessel, the egg's empty shell, and become aware of your new purpose. Spread your wings and find your heart's desire. So we're here it's all about coming up with something new, having a new, oh, here's something new, a new feeling, a new whatever. This is about going beyond, leaving that cup. And we see the raven perched on the edge of the cup, don't we? It's like he's checking that out, he's looking around, so he's getting ready to take flight. He's not turned to look at what's inside the cup. He's turned to look around him to see what lies around him, where he might want to go. Okay? Taking that passion, taking that dream, taking that emotion, and taking it beyond, taking it into somewhere, moving with it. It's an action. It's an action. This is rather passive. To me, this is rather passive. But this is very active to me. Okay. Then the Queen of Wands is in the position here of ball. We have broom and ball. And this being ball, and what I say by ball is a future card. What might I meet along the path? What lies ahead if things go on the way they are? What might I see relatively soon? What is in front of me? What lies in front of me? And here we have the Queen of Wands. And when we talk about the Queen of Wands all the time, we say things like, we talk about the Queen of Wands as being a nurturer. Okay, the danger that she can maybe smother if she nurtures too hard or whatever. But it's still a very matronly card. The Queen of Wands is the watery. If you saw some of my reading the court cards videos in the past, I call the Queen the watery side of Wands, which would be fire. It's watery side of fire. It's the passion might be there, the desire might be there, but there's a tendency you want to be careful that the water doesn't put out that fire, that the emotion doesn't quench the fire. Okay, that kind of thing. And very different take we see in this Murder of Crows deck. This Queen of Wands, she's very forced. You can see she's very forceful. She's moving forward. As we can see, her hair is blowing behind her. She's holding onto her wand and she's walking forward. Very determined pace, at a very determined pace. And it talks about the Queen of Wands being someone who's maybe the life of the party, someone with flair for drama, a very charismatic person with an intense focus, someone who is in love with life, never apologizing for her intensity. She demonstrates the wonder to be found in experiencing the world with all her senses. Her charisma is intoxicating, her speech direct and uncompromising. Hear the crunch and crack as she uses her staff to tear away the brambles blocking her path. Well, I had to laugh because that's kind of who I'm becoming. Or I think I'm becoming that. I'm giving myself permission to become that. I am giving myself permission to become that. That is who I at least want to be. That is who I am. I am living for now. If nothing, I am living for my present. I'm enjoying the things that I maybe did not have a chance to enjoy in the past. I am, anything that I wish to do, I'm trying to experience. I'm giving myself permission to live my life, which I thought was kind of interesting. So again, flying, rather than nurturing someone else, now this is somebody who is, I'm meeting somebody. Yes, I'm gonna fly above, and it's all for me. It's not all for me in a selfish way. It's all for me in a caring way, in a nurturing way, taking care of myself that way, rather than being stuck, doing for others all the time. I'm doing. If you're in my way, get out of the way. Where this queen sometimes was about, oh, let me do that for you. let me help you. Let me, I'm going to love you no matter what. That nurturing, that passion that somebody has, This is more about accomplishment. It's an action card. Again, these are more passive to me. This is to me, more passive. These are more active. The same cards, but a little more active. Now, interestingly, this author also mentions a mask. It may be hard to see from this photo, but you'll see it very well from the next one. That these masks, some of the people in this deck, some of the characters in this deck are wearing the mask that we see. You might have seen it in illustrations from the 14th century, perhaps, of medieval Europe, when the Black Death, when the plague was rampant and killing so many people, there were these masks that the doctors wore with a long pointed beak, like a bird-like mask, which had a long pointed beak. And the reason that it had that was they would put some kind of herbs in here. We talked about that when we talked about, I think, the Four Thieves vinegar that I made in another video. We talked about that, the herbs that was made for that, where they think that they thought that breathing these herbs or whatever that they put in the beak of this mask would help them to, it's like a, prevent them from catching the plague. It's really what it was. But the caution in this deck is some of these characters have this mask on, not all of them. But when you see the mask, you have to remember that even the person wearing the mask could be a doctor who is there to help you, but also could be one of those thieves that was there, posing as a doctor with the mask on, but ready to steal from the dead, ready to steal from the sick, take their jewels, take their money, whatever they had. It could be somebody who, so this person could be there to help you, could be a helpful person, or this person could be, there's a caution that goes with this. And of course we can see very clearly that caution when we read the description of when I said, hear the crunch and crack as she uses her staff to tear away the brambles blocking her path. Be sure of the intent. Be sure of the intent when you are, when I'm going after what it is that I want, right? When I'm trying to be, making sure my drama and my charisma is in the right place. Maybe it's there to benefit others and not to hurt others, right? That would be the caution, I would say. Okay. The last two cards are the positions of hearth and home. Hearth and home, okay? Hearth and home. And here we have the Page of Swords, and the Seven of Swords. Interesting. That here I am, the Triple Cancer, and my Hearth and Home cards for Mabon are both swords. They're not cups, they're swords. They're not wands, they're swords. They're, head things, they're ideas, they're concepts in head or communication, right? So, when I talk about the hearth, I'm talking again into the past, because I'm talking about where do you draw your energy? Your hearth, remember your hearth fire in your home is maybe, or think of a hearth fire in a medieval home or traditional home. The fire is where was the fire that was necessary to keep your home warm, to keep your family fed, okay, those kind of things. To provide light when there was no electricity. It was very important. It was what fueled you, what was kept you going, okay? So where can I draw my energy to feed and manifest my intentions? If you don't feed it, it's going to die out, your intentions. If you don't feed those intentions, like I talked to you about feeding a spell, if you don't feed a spell, sometimes it'll die out, and if you didn't get it, it's gone. You need to redo it. But if you keep feeding it, it will grow in power and maintain as long as you need it to for your intention to be manifested. Okay, so here we see the Page of Swords in this position. And traditionally for the Page of Swords, we see somebody who is sometimes it's just somebody who is speaking without maybe a secret. Maybe it's a secret. It could be some kind of news comes unexpectedly. Sometimes it's talking just without really thinking about, it's sort of an action that speaks quickly, Sometimes I think about, or illicit, somebody who maybe tells a secret or betrays a confidence or whatever. Or, but it's about the speech. It's kind of about the speech. And interestingly, in this card, so it would be, where can I draw my energy to feed? This isn't so helpful for me. This is maybe telling me, Oh, also the Page of Swords is also the airy side of swords, where you do need air. You do need air to feed a fire. You need that to keep it burning. But this is the Page of Swords, which is the airy side of air. So there tends to be too much air. Too much air. Pages side of air, swords. I think of again as a. I guess I need to link to that court video for those of you who haven't seen it. It tells you a little easier way to read the court cards using the elements. But the Page of Sword, the pages represent air, the element of air. Swords represent the element of air. So we have the airy side of air, which has a lot of air. And if we're going to talk about here, how can I draw my energy to feed and manifest my intention? My intention being that fire, that thing that I want to do. Too much air can blow out that fire. So there should be, this maybe is not the best card for that. But if we look into this deck, when I see, here we have, oh, look here. This guy is really active. He's really active, isn't he? Swinging his sword around. This guy standing very still. And here, interesting, we see that mask again, which we'll talk about in a minute. But he's standing very still. Okay? He's very clever. He's an attentive observer. Okay? He has insights. He gains insights by observing. He's looking around. But also, there could be, maybe he's watching to get secrets. This guy was maybe telling secrets. Or this guy is watching to get this to obtain secrets. Which I'll talk about again in a minute. Okay, I want to mention something. The words coming from the author say, witches from the shadows. Well, I mean, watches. That's what he watches from the shadows. Drinking in all he sees. He aims to be invisible, to uncover and remember hidden secrets. There is no information that cannot be used for his advantage when the time is right. Well, you know what this reminded me of? It doesn't seem to be a very nice card. What can I draw on? What can I draw on? Again, remember we're saying, where can I draw my energy from to feed and manifest my intentions? Well, this is very personal for me because I'm an empath. This is what empaths do, whether they want to do it or not. We're constantly obtaining energy from what is around us, whether it can be seen or not. We can tell what people are around us sometimes, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, if they're lying, if they're being honest. Okay? We feel things that are coming sometimes before they come. We just have these feelings, and partly, and I've said this in the past, a lot of people who study empaths say that empaths maybe are just really, really good at reading body language and don't know it. We don't realize that we're really actually reading body language, which people are communicating these things to us so we don't realize it. We don't know. We don't know. Please don't leave me comments below and tell me what it is, because it's a theory. Everybody has theories. And it really doesn't matter to me. I'm an empath. I'm an empath. Okay? I'm not sure why, but I am. But this card speaks to that for me. This card speaks to that for me because this is about laying well, which I always do, and just gathering information about my surroundings, which I always do, and then using that to feed and manifest my intentions, which I kind of always do. Because that's how I roll. I can't help it. That's just how I roll. That's how I roll as an empath. I have to trust what I sense is the situation. I have to trust it. Okay? Whether people say that's a situation or not. I mean, I want to believe them, but if my intuition or something inside me says that it's not, then it's not. Okay. And that ties very much to the home, because the home is all about getting that balance, being in that state of balance, which we're looking for at this time of the year with the harvest, which was card 1. How is that reflected in the home? And the home being not just our home, our physical home where we live, and our people around us, and our job or whatever, but how we feel, how planted we feel on the earth. How are we standing? How grounded are we? How steady are we? Which at this time of the year, that's what we're trying to do. Get ourselves grounded, keep ourselves, well in balance, It's a time to get that balance back. As the light and dark is in balance, so may we get in balance. And this is telling me about the state of balance. This is telling me about what state of balance I'm really in at this time. How grounded am I really? Okay, how grounded am I really, or balanced in this time or place am I? And here's the Seven of Swords. That's a little confusing when I look in the Rider-Waite. I'm looking in the Rider-Waite and it says, have courage. I want to be courage. I want to be, who knows what's going on around me, but just to stand, have, pay attention to things. Like he's trying to look, because he's trying to do something. He's trying to have this action, right? But again, he's an action of moving away. He's actually moving away. What's happening in this card? Okay, and what's happening in this card? Crows are scavengers, right? Crows come in and they eat the dead animals that they find laying around, and but he's not eating it. What's he doing? He's picking up and he's carrying it. And here it says, the reading that talks about thinking outside of the box. It's all about problem solving, or thinking outside the box, and maybe stealing. Maybe he's taken this from somebody else that was after it. Okay, there is victory afforded by your talents and skills, striking in shadows, moving unseen, playing by your own rules or by no rules at all. You move without the needed approval of others. Okay, moving without the approval. And it looks here like if I want to look together, maybe this was somebody else's kill, or somebody, not necessarily the kill, but somebody's discovery, and he has taken it, or he's taken it back to share it, like we saw in an earlier card. He might be taking it to share or taking it away so that he can have it. But he found it, and he's going to take it. He's found it, and he's going to take it. Okay, so he's whether or not he has approval or not, he wants it, and he's going to take it. He's solving a problem. He has some kind of assault, and he went out and got it, and he's going to go back and solve this problem. Okay. So, again, an action card. This is, acting when the time is right? Here we have the hearth. Giving opportunity, looking for opportunity, and then acting when the time is right. Okay, now, I want to go back to this card just for 1 minute, because I want to remind you that this guy has that mask on. We're talking about using the secrets. We don't know that this, we're using secrets, but are we seeing things, is this an accurate sign? Is this an accurate sign? Is this, or are we being tricked? Are we seeing something that's real, or are we seeing? We have to be careful to make sure that what we see is real. Okay, we don't want to be tricked, and that's why we're saying about the mask, and that's what I say as an empath. Because sometimes I can be wrong. Sometimes I get a feeling and it was nothing. Because often, what happens with empaths? I think it's very common. If you're an empath, you will know this to be true. And this is one of the reasons I wear my bracelets. I feel things that I think are meant for me, and they're not. They're meant for somebody else that's close to me. Okay, I feel the energies that are around me that other people are giving off. Especially if I'm in a group of people, Like I can have a sense of absolute dread, and everything goes fine. And I think, why did I feel that sense of dread? That feeling of dread wasn't my feeling. It was somebody else's feeling. It was somebody else's feeling. So this is what, when we're talking about here, feeding on that energies that we're acquiring, making sure that they're my energies before I use them. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to go on too big. This has kind of been a long video. I didn't mean it to be that long. But this Murder of Crows deck is really lovely. I really have enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to maybe do another reading with it for you next week. I will see. And then it's going to be time actually for me to get into but I'll show you in a minute. Let me put this in. This is such a cute little box. They have that. Los Carballo has the nicest decks. They have the little booklet that fits right into the box, and that's really silly. I really like that a lot. Okay, I'm going to change my camera for 1 minute because I want to talk to you about then what's coming up for us for tarot. Okay, I hope that was fun for you. I liked that reading. I thought that was really I liked it. It's coming up. I said I'm going to do a couple more readings with this, at least one more for you, maybe two, using the Murder of Crows. I really like that. But as we get closer to Samhain particularly, I really like to switch over to my Santa Muerte deck. I really love this deck. And this again, look, this is another one of these cool boxes from Los Carballo. Really very nice decks, packaged really well. Because the Santa Muerte deck is one deck that I really only use at this time of the year so far. There might be other times that I might use it, but to be honest, I use it at Samhain. October. It's an October deck for me. Maybe in November, the beginning parts of November, but then I move on. So I'm going to get a chance to read do a couple readings with you with the Santa Muerte, because it's really fun. And particularly if you don't have the deck, it's fun for you who don't have the deck of your own. You don't have to worry about buying the deck. I bought it for you. Okay. Thank you so much for watching today. And remember to look in the description box below for any links that I might have to past videos or any information I might think is helpful. Okay. See you soon. Thank you for watching. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.